There's an old saying, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. But what if I told you that no one can make you feel anything without your consent? That anger, frustration, and irritation are not reactions, they are choices. Today, I want to share with you 6 powerful mindsets that will allow you to walk through life unshaken by the words and actions of others. If you master these, you will never again waste another moment of your life in anger. Imagine walking through the world with a pair of tinted glasses. Everything you see is colored by your experiences, your struggles, your triumphs, and your losses. Now imagine that everyone else is wearing their own unique pair of glasses, each one casting a different hue on the same world. This is the reality we live in. We do not see the world as it is, we see it as we are. There's a moment in life when something shifts within us, when we encounter a perspective so profound that it changes the way we interact with the world. We've all had moments when we felt misunderstood, judged, or dismissed. But have we ever stopped to consider that the same is true for every person we meet? That behind every sharp word, every cold glance, every seemingly indifferent action, there is a story we do not know, a burden we cannot see. Think about that man on the train. His irritation was justified. Who wouldn't feel the same? Children running amok, disrupting the peace. It's natural to feel frustration in that situation. But the moment he heard the father's words, we just came from the hospital. Their mother just passed away. Everything changed. The situation didn't change. The children were still behaving the same way. The father was still sitting there, seemingly disengaged. But what changed was the lens through which the man saw them. What was once perceived as carelessness became understandable grief. What was once an annoyance became an opportunity for compassion. We go through life forming judgments in an instant. We think we know, we believe we understand. But how much do we really see? How often do we take the time to look beyond what's immediately apparent? If we knew the silent battles others were fighting, how differently would we treat them? Would we be slower to anger and quicker to empathy? Would we pause before responding with irritation? Would we offer a kind word instead of a harsh one? The truth is, people act from their own reality, and that reality is shaped by experiences we may never fully grasp. A coworker who snaps at you may be struggling with something at home. A driver who cuts you off may be rushing to the hospital. A friend who withdraws may be fighting an internal battle that words cannot express. And when we take things personally, we make it about us when, in reality, it's about something much deeper, something unseen. It takes a conscious effort to shift our perspective, to remind ourselves that what we see on the surface is never the full story. It requires us to step back, breathe, and choose understanding over assumption. And while we cannot control how others act, we can control how we respond. We can choose to be the kind of person who offers grace instead of judgment, patience instead of frustration, and kindness instead of indifference. Imagine if we all did this, if we all took a moment before reacting, if we all extended the benefit of the doubt a little more often. The world would feel different, conversations would change, relationships would deepen. We would become a force for good, a source of comfort in a world that so often feels chaotic and unforgiving. We've all experienced pain. We've all carried burdens we didn't know how to share. And in those moments, haven't we all longed for understanding? Haven't we wished for someone to see beyond our actions and recognize the silent struggle beneath? If we've wished for it, then isn't it only right that we offer it to others? Compassion is a choice. It's a choice to believe that everyone is doing the best they can with the circumstances they've been given. It's a choice to replace judgment with curiosity, anger with patience, irritation with care. And when we make that choice, not only do we transform the way we interact with others, but we also transform ourselves. We become lighter, freer, less burdened by resentment, and more open to connection. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want? To be seen, to be understood, to know that even in our worst moments, someone is willing to look beyond the surface and see the person within. The beauty of it is that the more we give this to others, the more it returns to us. When we create a world of understanding, we find ourselves surrounded by it in return. So the next time you feel frustration bubbling up, take a moment, ask yourself, what if there's more to the story? What if there's a reason beyond what I can see? And then choose kindness. Choose grace. Choose to see the humanity in those around you. Because that is how we change the world, not in grand gestures, but in small moments of understanding that ripple outward in ways we may never fully comprehend. Imagine standing in the middle of a crowded street. The noise of traffic blaring, people rushing past, conversations overlapping. In the chaos, someone bumps into you. Instinctively, you feel a surge of irritation, maybe even anger. But before reacting, you pause. You step back, take a breath, and simply observe. In that moment, you make a choice that determines not just your response, but the course of your day and over time, your life. Life is full of moments that provoke, challenge, and stir something deep within us. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A colleague takes credit for your work. A stranger makes an offhand remark that stings. In each of these moments, we have two options: react impulsively or observe deliberately. Most of us have been conditioned to react, to meet fire with fire, to defend, attack, or retreat. But what if instead we chose to watch, to understand, and to respond with intention rather than impulse? Imagine a time when you let anger dictate your actions. Maybe you sent an email you later regretted, or said something in the heat of the moment that strained a relationship. Now, think of a moment when you practiced restraint, when you gave yourself the space to process before responding. Which of those experiences led to a better outcome? Which made you feel stronger, more in control? The greatest leaders, the most centered individuals, understand this fundamental truth. Emotions are transient. Neuroscientists have discovered that emotions last about 90 seconds in the body. They come like waves, cresting, and then dissipating unless we feed them with more thoughts. When someone offends us, the initial sting is real. But if we continue to replay the moment in our minds, if we analyze it, fuel it, give it life, it lingers. We suffer not because of the initial event, but because of our attachment to it. Consider a river. The water flows, carrying leaves, twigs, even debris. If you stand by the river, you see these objects moving past, some quickly, some slowly. You don't chase after them. You don't jump in and fight against the current. You simply watch. Thoughts and emotions are no different. When a painful thought arises, observe it. Acknowledge its presence. But resist the urge to hold on to it. Like a leaf in the river, let it pass. This is not about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. Quite the opposite. It's about recognizing them fully without allowing them to dictate our actions. It's about giving ourselves the space to respond with clarity rather than react with regret. When we learn to observe rather than react, we cultivate resilience. We develop the ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, to approach conflict with wisdom rather than impulse. Think of a time when you encountered someone who remained calm in a storm. Maybe it was a mentor, a parent, a leader. Their ability to hold space, to remain composed, made them a source of strength. They became the person others turned to for guidance. Now imagine becoming that person for yourself and for those around you. Imagine what it would feel like to be the steady presence in chaos, the person who doesn't get swept away by the currents of emotion, but instead stands firm, watching the river flow. It starts with a pause. The next time something provokes you, stop, breathe. Instead of reacting, observe. Notice the sensation in your body, the thoughts racing through your mind. Remind yourself that this feeling is temporary, that you have control over how long it stays. With practice, this pause becomes second nature. It shifts the way you experience the world. You move from being at the mercy of emotions to being their master. When we live reactively, we surrender our power to external circumstances. We become puppets, dancing to the tune of every passing comment, every frustrating encounter. But when we learn to observe, we reclaim that power. We decide how we respond. We choose our own peace over momentary satisfaction. Think about the people you admire most. Are they the ones who lash out in anger, who crumble under pressure? Or are they the ones who remain composed, who navigate challenges with grace? Greatness is not found in the ability to dominate a conversation or win an argument. It is found in the ability to listen, to understand, and to act with purpose. Imagine a world where more people chose to observe rather than react, where conflicts were met with understanding rather than hostility, where instead of escalating tension, we diffused it with patience. This shift is not just possible, it is necessary. And it begins with each of us. One moment, one breath, one choice at a time. So, the next time you feel anger rising, the next time frustration knocks at your door, step back, watch the river, let the leaves float by, and remember, you are not the current. You are the observer. Expectations are a funny thing. We create them, we nurture them, and then we feel hurt when they aren't met. We expect fairness, kindness, and reciprocity, as if the world follows the same rulebook we do. But reality is indifferent to our expectations. It moves forward unconcerned with what we think it should be, and this, more than anything, is the root of our frustration. We grow up believing that effort is rewarded, that good people are recognized, that if we do right by others, they will do right by us. And yet, time and again, we experience the sting of unmet expectations. We hold doors open for people who don't say thank you. We work hard and see someone else get promoted. We love deeply only to have our hearts broken. And in those moments, we don't just feel disappointment, we feel betrayed. We believe the world would be different, and it isn't. A Buddhist teaching says, if you argue with reality, you will lose 100% of the time. And yet we argue. We say, that's not fair. That shouldn't have happened. They should know better. But fairness is not a universal law. It is a human construct, an idea we impose on a world that was never built to accommodate it. What if we changed the way we approached life? What if, instead of expecting, we simply accepted? Not in a way that means surrendering to mistreatment, but in a way that liberates us from unnecessary suffering. Acceptance doesn't mean condoning bad behavior. It means ceasing to be shocked by it. It means understanding that people will cut you off in traffic, that someone will be rude at the grocery store, that not everyone will act with integrity. It means knowing that life will not always be fair, and instead of resisting that truth, embracing it. Imagine how much lighter you would feel if you stopped expecting the world to be different from what it is. Imagine the energy you would reclaim if you no longer allowed yourself to be hurt by the predictability of human nature. The problem isn't that people are selfish, rude, or thoughtless. The problem is that we expect them not to be. The moment we remove expectation, we remove the source of our suffering. That doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. It doesn't mean we stop striving for better or holding others accountable. It means we stop wasting emotional energy on things we cannot control. Because here's the truth. People are going to be who they are, regardless of what you expect of them. The person who always lets you down is going to continue letting you down. The coworker who takes credit for your ideas is not suddenly going to become honorable. The friend who only calls when they need something isn't suddenly going to change. When we accept this, we free ourselves from the exhausting cycle of disappointment. This shift in mindset changes everything. It allows us to approach life with a sense of peace instead of frustration. It allows us to respond rather than react. Instead of seething in anger when someone is inconsiderate, we simply acknowledge, that's how some people are, and move on. Instead of resenting those who don't reciprocate our kindness, we choose to give without expectation, finding joy in the act itself rather than in the response we receive. When we expect nothing, we accept everything. And when we accept everything, we gain power, not over others, but over ourselves. We are no longer held hostage by our own desires for how the world should be. We learn to navigate reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem unshakable, who move through life with grace, who don't seem fazed by the pettiness or selfishness of others. They are not people without struggles. They are people who have made peace with reality. They do not waste energy wishing others were different. They simply accept them as they are and adjust accordingly. They do not rely on external validation to feel good about themselves. They do not let the actions of others dictate their mood, their self-worth, or their path. This is the kind of freedom that comes with acceptance. The ability to say, I see you for who you are, and I will not let that define me. The ability to walk away from a situation without resentment because you never expected anything different. The ability to approach life with curiosity instead of judgment, understanding that every person you encounter is acting from their own reality, shaped by their own experiences, beliefs, and struggles. And here's the real beauty of it. When you expect nothing, you begin to appreciate everything. A simple act of kindness becomes a gift, rather than an obligation fulfilled. A moment of generosity feels extraordinary, rather than merely sufficient. When we stop expecting, we start noticing. We become grateful for what is, rather than resentful for what isn't. So let go of expectation. Accept what is, not because you have to, but because it is the only path to peace. The world is going to keep turning, people are going to keep being who they are, and life is going to unfold in ways you cannot predict. You can fight it, or you can embrace it. And when you embrace it, you find that the weight you've been carrying, the frustration, the disappointment, the resentment begins to lift. You find yourself free. There's a reason a tree with deep roots doesn't fall in the wind. The world can throw storms at it, but it remains standing, unwavering, unshaken. It is not the force of the wind that decides its fate, but the strength of its roots, and so it is with us. When we cultivate an inner world fortified by self-awareness, gratitude, and purpose, we develop an unshakable foundation that allows us to face any challenge with resilience and grace. Imagine a life where external circumstances do not dictate your peace, a life where the noise of the world does not drown out the voice of your own conviction. It is not a fantasy. It is the reality of those who have mastered the art of strengthening their inner world. Marcus Aurelius, a man who led an empire through war and turmoil, understood this deeply. He wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It is the realization that our true power does not come from controlling the world, but from mastering ourselves. Many people move through life reacting to every storm, every criticism, every setback, as if they are leaves blown in the wind. But the truth is, no one can trigger you unless there is already a wound inside of you to poke at. The harsh words of a stranger, the judgment of others, the failures that seem to define us, these things only hold power when we allow them to. When we are insecure, the world will reflect those insecurities back at us in ways that feel like personal attacks. But when we heal, when we strengthen our inner world, we become impervious to these external forces. We become the tree, rooted deeply, immovable. Strengthening your inner world begins with self-awareness. It is the practice of looking inward with honesty and without judgment. It means asking yourself the hard questions. Why does this situation bother me? Why does this person's opinion carry so much weight? What am I truly afraid of? Most people avoid these questions because they are uncomfortable, but discomfort is the birthplace of growth. The more we understand ourselves, the more we realize that the fears and insecurities that once controlled us are illusions. They only have power when left unexamined. Gratitude is another pillar of an unshakable inner world. It is easy to be grateful when life is going well, but the real test is whether we can find gratitude in adversity. Those who master gratitude see the world differently. Instead of obstacles, they see lessons. Instead of failures, they see opportunities to grow. Every challenge becomes a gift, and every setback a stepping stone. Gratitude shifts the mind from lack to abundance, from weakness to strength. It allows us to focus on what we have rather than what we lack, and in doing so, we discover an internal wealth that can never be taken away. And then there is purpose. Purpose is the anchor that keeps us steady when everything else is uncertain. Without purpose, we drift. We are easily swayed by the opinions of others, the fleeting highs of achievement, and the inevitable lows of failure. But when we have a clear sense of why we do what we do, no obstacle is too great, no criticism too sharp, no setback too discouraging. Purpose transforms hardship into fuel. It gives us the resilience to stand up again and again, no matter how many times we fall. There is a story about a man who spent years seeking wisdom from a great teacher. He climbed mountains, crossed deserts, and finally, when he reached the teacher, he asked, "Master, what is the secret to a strong life?" The teacher led him to a tree and said, "Look at this tree. It stands tall not because it resists the wind, but because its roots are deep." The man understood. Strength does not come from fighting the world, but from grounding oneself so deeply that the world cannot shake you. Every day, we are faced with moments that test our inner world. A rude comment from a stranger, an unexpected failure, a loss we didn't see coming. These moments are opportunities. They reveal where our roots are weak, where we need to grow. If we approach them with self-awareness, gratitude, and a sense of purpose, we come out stronger every time. The wind does not weaken a tree with deep roots. It strengthens it. It forces the roots to grow deeper, to hold firmer, to become even more resilient. So ask yourself, how deep are your roots? Do you bend and break when the storm comes, or do you stand tall, unshaken? The world will always have storms. There will always be critics, failures, losses, and unforeseen challenges, but none of them have the power to uproot you unless you give them that power. The strongest people are not those who never face adversity, but those who have built an inner world so strong that adversity only makes them stronger. The work of strengthening your inner world never ends, but every step forward brings more peace, more confidence, more resilience. It is not about perfection, it is about progress. Every moment of self-awareness Every practice of gratitude, every step taken with purpose deepens your roots. And the deeper your roots, the higher you can grow. The world will try to shake you. Do not let it. Stand firm. Strengthen your inner world. Be unshakable. Life has a way of testing us. It throws challenges in our path, obstacles that seem insurmountable, and moments that make us question everything. But what if these very moments, the ones that feel like setbacks, disappointments, and failures, are actually invitations? What if they are not meant to break us, but to shape us? The ability to reframe situations is one of the most powerful skills we can develop, because it allows us to transform adversity into growth, rejection into resilience, and criticism into wisdom. Think about the last time someone insulted you. In that moment, you felt a rush of emotions, perhaps anger, frustration, or hurt. The natural response is to take it personally, to let it settle inside us like a thorn that keeps poking, reminding us of the pain. But what if we could shift our perspective? Instead of seeing it as a personal attack, we could view it as a test of our emotional strength, our ability to stay centered, our capacity to rise above negativity. When we stop reacting and start observing, we reclaim our power. Criticism works the same way. We can either let it wound us or use it as fuel. Feedback, no matter how harsh, contains information. It tells us something about how the world perceives us, about gaps in our approach, about areas where we can improve. But too often we shut down in the face of criticism, seeing it as a declaration of our inadequacy instead of an opportunity for refinement. The greatest leaders, the most successful people, do not avoid criticism. They welcome it. They sift through it, extracting the parts that will help them grow and discard the rest. Consider Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison, nearly 3 decades of his life, behind bars, separated from his family, from his people, from the world. Imagine the anger, the bitterness, the resentment he could have carried. No one would have blamed him. He had every reason to emerge full of hatred, to seek revenge, to let the weight of his suffering define him. But he didn't. He reframed his suffering as preparation for leadership. He saw those years not as wasted time, but as the refining fire that shaped him into the man who would lead a nation toward reconciliation instead of war. He turned his pain into purpose. Reframing is the difference between being a victim of circumstances and being the author of our own story. Every challenge, every hardship, every disappointment holds within it a lesson. But we only see the lesson if we choose to look for it. If we stay in the mindset of, why is this happening to me? We stay stuck. But if we ask, what can this teach me? How can this make me better? Suddenly, nothing is ever truly negative. Every moment, no matter how difficult, becomes an opportunity. Think of an athlete training for the Olympics. Every morning before sunrise, they wake up and push their body to the limit. They endure pain, exhaustion, setbacks. They don't see it as suffering. They see it as preparation. They understand that every sore muscle, every difficult session, every failure is forging them into a champion. The struggle is not separate from success. It is the very thing that makes success possible. The same is true in life. Every difficulty is conditioning us, preparing us, making us stronger for what's ahead. Even in everyday situations, reframing changes everything. Imagine losing your job. The first reaction might be fear, stress, uncertainty. But what if it's actually the push you needed to pursue something greater, to start that business you always dreamed of, to explore a new path, to discover talents you never realized you had? What if rejection is just redirection? What if every door that closes is simply guiding you toward the right one? Some of the most successful people in history faced devastating failures before achieving greatness. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. Steven Spielberg was rejected from film school multiple times. J.K. Rowling was told she had no future as a writer. But they didn't see these moments as endings. They saw them as beginnings. They refused to let one no define their future. They used rejection as fuel, as proof that they needed to work harder, push further, believe more deeply. They reframed failure as feedback and kept moving forward. The most inspiring leaders, the most resilient people have mastered the art of reframing. They don't just see life as it is, they see it as it could be. They take pain and turn it into wisdom. They take setbacks and turn them into comebacks. They take obstacles and turn them into stepping stones. And so the next time you find yourself in a difficult situation, stop and ask, how can this make me better? Instead of reacting, step back and reframe. Because when you do, you will realize something powerful. Nothing in life is ever truly negative. It's all part of the process of becoming who you are meant to be. There's a moment in all our lives when we realize that we are not here just for ourselves. We are part of something greater. The world does not revolve around us, but we have the power to shape it. The noise of everyday life, the minor inconveniences, the fleeting frustrations, the moments of self-doubt begins to fade when we understand that we are here for a bigger purpose. That purpose is the foundation upon which we stand, and when we embrace it fully, nothing can shake us. Think of a time when you faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable. Maybe it was a rejection, a failure, or a moment when you felt utterly lost. In that moment, did you allow yourself to be defined by the setback, or did you rise above it? Those who achieve greatness, those who leave a lasting impact, are the ones who refuse to be consumed by the trivial. They recognize that the struggles, the doubts, and even the criticisms are just noise. And when you learn to filter out the noise, you can finally hear the calling that has been there all along. Mother Teresa once said, if you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish motives. Be kind anyway. The key word here is anyway. Do it anyway, lead anyway, give anyway, serve anyway. Because your purpose is not about seeking validation or applause. It is about contributing to something that extends beyond your own life. It is about standing for something even when no one is watching, even when no one understands, even when the world pushes back. We live in a time where distractions are constant, and people often measure success in likes, shares, and fleeting recognition. But real success, the kind that fulfills you at your core, does not come from validation. It comes from waking up every day with a sense of conviction that you are moving towards something meaningful. It comes from knowing that your actions, no matter how small, are contributing to a future that is better because you are here. Picture yourself driving down a busy road. Someone cuts you off. It's frustrating. Maybe your pulse quickens. Maybe you curse under your breath. But ask yourself, will this moment matter in a year, a month, even a week? Probably not. Yet how often do we allow these insignificant moments to steal our peace, to shift our focus, to pull us away from what truly matters? Now think of a time when you helped someone, when you gave without expecting anything in return. Maybe it was a small act, a word of encouragement, a gesture of kindness, but it made an impact. That's the difference between being reactive to the world and being intentional about how you engage with it. Those who make the greatest impact are not those who are the loudest, the wealthiest, or the most powerful in the traditional sense. They are the ones who choose to see the bigger picture. They are the ones who do not let minor inconveniences define their days. They are the ones who understand that purpose is not found in a single grand moment, but in the accumulation of countless small, meaningful actions. There will be people who misunderstand you. There will be moments when you feel unseen or unappreciated, but you must remember why you started. You must remind yourself that you are not here to be measured by how others perceive you. You are here to contribute, to build, to inspire. Purpose does not waver in the face of criticism. It is strengthened by it. Every time you are challenged, every time doubt creeps in, ask yourself, is this moment, this setback, this criticism going to alter the course of my purpose? If the answer is no, let it go. When we live with purpose, we become resilient. We stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks and start viewing them as stepping stones. We recognize that the setbacks we experience are not signs to stop, but signs that we are on the right path. The greatest leaders, the most influential changemakers, did not achieve what they did because they were free from struggle. They achieved it because they refused to let struggle deter them. Think about the people you admire most. The people whose stories move you, whose words inspire you, whose actions shift the way you see the world. What do they all have in common? It's not that they lived easy lives. It's not that they had all the answers. It's that they never lost sight of their purpose. They knew that the world needed them to keep going, to keep striving, to keep believing. And because they did, they left behind a legacy that continues to impact lives today. And so I ask you, what is your purpose? Why are you here? What is the contribution that only you can make? Because make no mistake, there is something only you can do. No one else has your voice, your experiences, your perspective. No one else will walk the exact same path you are walking. That means your role in this world is irreplaceable. And when you embrace that, when you own it fully, you step into a life that is driven not by circumstances, but by an unshakable mission. So the next time life tries to pull you into the trivial, the next time you find yourself caught in frustration or doubt, remember why you are here. Remember that your life's work is too important to be derailed by distractions. When you hold fast to your purpose, you become unstoppable. You become the person who inspires others to rise above. You become the kind of leader the world desperately needs. Because in the end, it won't be the small inconveniences that define us. It won't be the criticisms, the setbacks, or the fleeting frustrations. It will be the way we chose to rise, the way we chose to lead, the way we chose to serve. The world doesn't need more people who simply react. It needs people who step forward with courage, with conviction, and with the unwavering belief that they are here for something far greater than themselves. Anger is a thief. It steals your joy, your time, and your energy. But the truth is, no one can give you anger. You must pick it up yourself. So today, make a choice. Choose to be unshakable. Choose peace. Because the moment you stop letting others control your emotions, you become truly free. Now, let's go out and live with purpose.